2 minutes. That is all it took to raise $1 million from HubSpot Ventures. And I'm going to share exactly how I did it, breaking down some of the psychological techniques I use. I'll even go through the exact slide deck and ultimately give you a playbook for how you can create your own $1 million pitch. My name is Arjun Mahadevan. I'm the founder and CEO of Doula.com, a venture-backed tech startup here in New York City that's raised over $13 million of venture capital from some of the world's greatest investors, including Y Combinator, Nexus Venture Partners, HubSpot Ventures, and notable angels like Cody Sanchez, Graham Stephan, Sahil Bloom, and more. Of that $13 million, I raised $1 million in a pitch competition hosted by HubSpot Ventures in less than 120 seconds. And the truth is, this wasn't luck. There was actually a playbook I followed in terms of preparation and execution to do this. Let's kick things off with the preparation. The very first thing is, when I heard about the pitch competition, I'm not gonna lie, at first I was a bit skeptical. This sounded a bit too good to be true, but ultimately, and you might get pitch competitions or have these types of opportunities, the reason why I decided to go to the pitch was, one, it was at an incredible conference, Inbound, which was hosted by HubSpot. The second thing is, maybe there wasn't an actual chance to win $1 million. I candidly thought it might be like Shark Tank, where 99% of people who go on don't make money. But it was at the conference. HubSpot was graceful enough to actually offer me money to come and comp my ticket, which was incredible. And the way I thought about it was, even if there's 100 people in the audience, I get to pitch the doula story to 100 people. There was enough upside there for me to say, hell yeah, let's do it. I thought it was asymmetric opportunity. Now, the second thing is, knowing that this was a pitch competition, I did some research and I knew the single biggest thing that kills people during pitches is overcomplicating slides and the message. This was a 2-minute pitch. So the overall ethos going into the pitch deck preparation and my mindset was KISS, or keep it simple, stupid. Seriously, meaning in each slide we make, we're going to have one message, and in 2 minutes, I'm going to not use jargon and really condense down where doula is today and what our mission is. Now, the third thing in terms of preparation, which you might hear this and say, that's wooey, that's BS, it doesn't work. But I actually visualized before the competition that we would win. What is up? Arjun from Doula. Tomorrow we are pitching in the $1 million pitch competition and we are going to win. Now, to actually break down what I did here, before the competition, in my head, I started thinking, what would someone who's pitching, who's going to win, pitch like? What would I do in terms of the way I project myself, in terms of my audience, in terms of the presentation? And the other thing I did, which I will admit now, is the day before the presentation, I actually stood on the stage in the venue when everyone had left, and I went up on stage and I pretended that I was looking out to the crowd. I even practiced doing the speech itself. And it was in that moment when I just visualized, hey, I'm going to be doing this exact thing tomorrow. And again, manifestation, visualization can sound a bit wooey, but I really do think me going on that stage and actually imagining that I had already won, perceived or rubbed off in terms of the actual presentation the next day. The final piece here, and again, you might hear this and say, that's too cocky or confident, but I actually wrote my thank you speech the night before too. So before the presentation, I had already written out, hey, if I win, they're likely going to pass the mic and ask me to say a few things, but I removed the word if, and I said, hey, when I win, I'm going to need to give a speech. So I wrote down a 30 to 60 second speech, which I then ended up giving the next day. So in summary, I knew there was an asymmetric upside opportunity here to share the story of doula and potentially make $1 million. I had a plan in place to keep my slides incredibly simple and make them legible. And I visualized that before the competition had even started, I had won. And there's this Sun Tzu quote I like, sometimes the battle is won before the war even starts. In this context, I thought, hey, if I visualize that I've won this thing, it's only going to help me doing the actual pitch. Okay, now I want to run through the exact deck we used that raised $1 million in less than 2 minutes. So I'm going to go through slide by slide and actually explain what I was doing in each of these slides. So very first title slide, we didn't say doula helps you form an LLC. We said access to American entrepreneurship, because that is our mission. And I think while people like to think they make logical decisions, ultimately we make emotional decisions and justify them with logic. So I wanted to, the second I stepped on stage, have people feel like, whoa, that's a mission I want to stand behind and emotionally be sold. The next thing is credibility kills. You can never have enough social proof. So on the second slide, I wanted to hit everyone with, hey, we're not just some company. We're backed by some of the world's best investors and we've raised money. Again, people might say, oh, I don't want to be biased by what you've done in the past and I don't judge books by their cover, but that's a lie. People do. So I hit them with credibility so that anything I said after would hold a separate level of weight. From there, I love the problem solution framing for what's the problem you solve and then hit them with the solution. My goal with the problem slide was to visually overwhelm the crowd by showing here are all the distinct things a founder has to do to get a business off the ground and scale it. And after I verbalize the problem, boom, hit them with a solution. Doula is a business in a box that connects the dots. I like the alliteration there, and visually you can see we're connecting all the dots. Now, after I've gone through problem solution, my goal was, let me paint a picture of how big this thing can get. So for Doula, we actually view Formation as our wedge to building a fintech platform. The analogy I love using is Formation is kind of this Trojan horse. And once someone starts their business, you can expand into broader financial services, and that alone is a huge financial opportunity. The other thing I did was I actually put the logos of other industry massive companies so investors or the crowd can verbalize and think, whoa, if Doula becomes a fraction of the size of those companies, there's a huge revenue opportunity there. Now, what I tried to do here is you need to know your audience and you need to know the judges. So we're pitching to HubSpot. HubSpot Ventures is deciding to invest. I wanted to make it so clear why Doula can help HubSpot. Again, not what's in it for me. Yes, the capital will be fantastic, but how can Doula help the judges or the investor or HubSpot? So here what I did is I put the logos of companies saying, for everything we can't do, we're going to partner and integrate with best-in-class companies. And the exact line I used was, if a founder needs payments, they might go to Stripe. And if a founder needs a CRM, well, I think there's a company called HubSpot that can help with that. Clearly, that was a joke. Everyone knows HubSpot, and we were at a conference for HubSpot. But the point here was the judges and HubSpot knew right away, wait a second, if companies start with Doula, when they need a CRM, they're going to have to go somewhere, and Doula can directly send people to HubSpot. So I made it so crystal clear how Doula can help you, or judges in this case. Now, the other thing which I think is critical is I wanted to give a sense of the size of the market opportunity or the revenue opportunity. Now, there's two ways you can do this. There's a top-down approach, which would be saying it's a $6 trillion market, and if we get 0.0001%, that means we have this much revenue. I think that calculation is a bit lazy versus doing a bottoms-up calculation, which is saying there are this many customers times this money in our target ideal customer profile niche times this is how much we charge, which gets you to an annual revenue opportunity. I like that bottoms-up calculation because it actually is a bit more disciplined versus just saying there's a massive market and waving a wand we're magically going to capture a certain percentage. So I did a bottoms-up calculation to demonstrate I understand who we're going after and I understand how we're going to build a massive business that drives a lot of revenue. The last piece here is I wanted to really emphasize Doula is a global product with a global audience and a global potential customer base. And visually I could do that by saying, hey, yes, there's a huge revenue opportunity here, but our product resonates globally. I also wanted to call it directly one of the alternatives or competitors that came out a lot and really demonstrate, hey, we're not just a service, we're building a lot of technology, a Formation API to automate as much as possible behind the scenes. The final thing is I wanted to talk about the team. If we're talking about building a global company, then let's have a global team. And we absolutely do. And I wanted to visually show here that most of the world's population is outside the US. So everyone is sleeping on a massive opportunity by just focusing on the US. Last but not least, I finished off with a thank you slide, which is always good. It had a picture of me. It had some more social proof. Again, you can never have enough social proof with where I went to school and where I worked after graduating. And then this slide stayed up while Q&A was happening after from the judges. So that's the exact slide deck we used. Now, the final part I want to run through, which I think is the most important thing, is the actual delivery and the execution or the pitch itself. Because you can prepare and visualize and have the right opportunity lined up. You can create the perfect pitch deck. But if you don't pitch it well, it doesn't matter. Now, here's a stat that blew my mind. And once I learned about these numbers, I could never view pitching or presenting in a different way. It's called the 55-38-7 rule. And it's actually a stat from Albert Mehrabian, who was a UCLA psychology professor, who found out that when it comes to human communication, 55% of human communication is actually based on body language. So just the way you present yourself, your body language. 38% is based on the tone of your voice. And then 7%, only 7% is from what you're actually saying. So for the people who are the math majors are following along here, 93% of human communication is not what you're saying. It's your body language and your tone. Knowing those stats, going into this pitch, I knew I can actually win the presentation the second I walk on stage with the first words I say. And it's not even the words I say, it's how I say them. So knowing that, and knowing that this is just a 2-minute pitch, I knew the most important thing I can do is the second I start walking on stage and the first sentence I say, I can win people's hearts and I can win the audience right there. It's how you start, it's how you finish, which are the most important things. So with that in mind, I practiced how I would open. I knew the slide that was going to be behind me. And when I started, I made sure to stand tall, project, and I introduced myself saying, hi, my name is Arjun Mahadevan. I'm the founder and CEO of Doula.com. Doula.com is a business in a box that provides access to American entrepreneurship. Practice that sentence, nail it with confidence, with authority, with strong projection, and I knew right away there I'd won 90% of the battle. That to me is the most important thing when it comes to pitching, is that your energy rubs off on other people. And again, really remember that 55-38-7 rule. It applies for everything. Whether you're on a sales call, on a Zoom call, you're meeting someone for the first time, you're going on a date, or you're pitching to raise $1 million of venture capital, that 55-38-7 rule applies. So that's a wrap. In summary, the key to building $1 million pitch, and this is exactly what I did to win $1 million and raise that in less than 2 minutes, is preparation. An ounce of preparation is worth a pound of the cure. Do not sleep on the power of visualization or manifesting. Number 2 is actually having an extremely solid pitch deck or assets. Again, single slides with single headlines, things that people can see from the back of the room. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. And number 3, you can have the best prep, the best deck, but you have to nail the pitch. Remember the 55-38-7 rule. And I actually wrote a book on this topic called The $1 Million Pitch. You can check it out below and actually download the full ebook, which has all of these strategies and every single slide from the actual pitch to HubSpot Ventures. And if you are serious about improving your pitching skills or raising funds for your business, turn on notifications and hit subscribe. I'll be putting out more content just like this. And if you're looking to scale your own business, that's why I built Doula. Doula is a business in a box, and we help entrepreneurs from all over the world start their business, do their bookkeeping, and even do their business taxes so you can focus on what you do best while Doula handles the rest. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions on preparation, creating pitch decks, or pitching, and I'll see you in the next video.